It's the final percent. The final percent. Yeah.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Final Percent podcast. And today I have two incredible women because it is Women's History Month. And I have the distinct honor to have actually incredible women in my life all the way through business partners, friends, of course, my beautiful mother, who I know listens to my podcast. And if I didn't mention that, I would get a text. Somehow this isn't even out yet, and if I didn't say that right now, she would have texted me. So Mom, I love you. You are incredible, and I want you to know that. I'm very thankful for you bringing me into this world. So without further ado, a couple housekeeping items that I want to talk about. I want to talk about the fact that we are actually, a lot of you know Dr. Eileen Gallagher, one of my business partners, very, very close friends, longtime client. She's actually going to take over the podcast all of next month, so we figured what better way to introduce her than on Women's History Month with another freaking awesome doctor, Amy Killen, because she's killing it. She's literally killing the game nonstop. She's everywhere. I was doing some research, some market research last night, and holy crap, who is this woman? I mean, she's on Mind Valley, which is taking over personal growth. You know, Vision is touting her. A lot of people are talking about this incredible person for good reason. She's got a lot of things going on, and before I could even talk to this incredible person, my other incredible person comes to me. She goes, I talked to this other doc, and she's awesome, and she's this. And I was like, wait, who is it? Because I think I know who it is. And so she texted me, and I was just like, yep. I'm sitting right next to her. So we're just bringing cool people together, doing cool things. So without further ado, Amy, can you just tell us a little bit about your journey here? And then I'm going to turn it over to Eileen and let you guys do some more doctor talk, because I'm basically going to nod and smile while they say a bunch of stuff I don't understand, which is completely fine.
I want to actually talk a little bit about how, so when we got here to this conference, I was looking at, which we'll go over the hot box in a little bit, but I was looking at some of the materials in it and then looking things up, and I actually, the story kind of evolved. George had said, you know, talk to my staff about what's in some of the things if you don't know. So I had some questions about the ingredients since it's George's partnership with you. And he's like, oh, well, go talk to Amy. She's the person who knows all this about everything. And I was like, okay, well, who's Amy? Oh, she's a doctor. She figured this out. And so like I had no idea that we would have so much in common, which was really fun for me. But I did a deep dive into biohacking kind of at the beginning of COVID, so like 3 years ago, and watched a video actually where she's done some of her stem cell stuff. And I was like, wait, she looks so familiar. She started telling me about some of the things that she's doing, so I want you to share what you've done to evolve. But when she was telling me about some of the things, she was like, wait, where do you live? And who's your partner? And oh, I think I saw you in this movie that I watched 3 years ago.
It's all coming around full circle.
Anyway, so it was really fun to have it like kind of unfold the way that it did. So share, please, kind of how you love medicine or your traditional ER medicine.
Yeah, so I was an ER doctor for 10 years. That's my training is in ER. I'm board certified. And I worked in a really busy ER in Austin, actually, for 10 years. And then I had my 3 kids within 2 years. So I had twins, and then I had another one 20 months later. And I was still working full time. But as you can imagine, not sleeping, stressed out, eating garbage, drinking a lot of Monsters, just like not the nicest person to be around in general, kind of strung out. And I started realizing that my patients who are coming into the ER, a lot of them were in the same place. And a lot of them were coming in because they were under such stress and lack of sleep. And like they were having all these acute and chronic medical problems because of their lifestyle. And you know, maybe lack of education, lack of time, whatever. But I just realized that in order to help them and to help myself, I needed to just learn a whole new set of tricks and tools. So I left the ER in 2013, and I walked away and I started learning about preventative medicine and hormones and integrative medicine and biohacking and stem cells and all of this stuff, and that's kind of where I am now.
Wow. That's where, I mean, that's one decision away. Holy crap.
From a totally different life.
Right? From a completely different life. Okay, so I have 2 questions, selfish questions. I keep hearing about stem cell anything. I don't really understand what that means. And I think a lot of people, like I always tell people when I'm coaching them, it's my job to ask the quote unquote dumb question, because a lot of people think like you're an expert in who and what you do, who you are. But we're hearing this so much more these days, this stem cell idea. You know, help us take it from what you know to like what Greg can understand.
Well, so your stem cells are cells all over your body, and their job is to maintain the health of all the different organs and tissues. So they can do two things. They can multiply and make more of themselves, which not all cells can do. And then they can also what we call differentiate, which means turn into other cell types. So for
Chameleon
instance,
cells.
they're like chameleon cells,
Okay.
Exactly. So like for instance, my son, if he cuts his arm, he's like 13, cuts his arm, it heals in like 2 days.
Yeah.
If I have the same cut, it takes me like 2 weeks. And that's because he has 13-year-old stem cells, and they're signaling repair much faster and much better than my stem cells. And that's happening all over our entire bodies, because so as you get older, your stem cells become less active, and you also don't have as many of them. So what we're trying to do with all of these different stem cell therapies is use different things, whether it's stem cells themselves or growth factors from your blood or other things like that, to signal your cells that are already in your body to become more active and act like more youthful versions of themselves.
So
you're healing yourself from your own cells that you
So
just put in
badass.
different places.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
help them go to the right places with a little assistance.
Yeah, totally. You're just trying to get your own body to heal itself because you have that power. It's just that your cells kind of forget to
So
do that.
you're trying to turn everyone into lizards.
Chameleons.
Chameleon's a nicer way. All right, Eileen, I know you're going to ask way better questions than I. You have some specific questions. Can you go full doctor?
I may not go full doctor, but talk about the things that you guys are doing in your clinic, and if you want to share kind of about the clinic. And then we'll drop, if you'd like, in our podcast, I'd like to drop the video about the stem cell treatment that you and Dr. Adelson have done.
Yeah, so I work up in a clinic in Park City with Dr. Harry Adelson. He's a naturopathic doctor. He specializes in musculoskeletal pain, so any kind of joint pain, basically any moving part that hurts in your body. And then I specialize more in aesthetics and sexual health. And so the two of us do these big stem cell cases together where someone will come in and they'll want to get their shoulders done, their knees, their hips,
The full body overhaul.
We do what's called a full body stem cell makeover on some people where they're literally injecting every joint, where Harry is, every joint, all down the neck and back. And then I'm doing facial injections, scalp injections for hair, skin injections for skin rejuvenation, sexual injections, and we do IV stem cells also. So essentially it's literally injections all over the body.
Okay, what's a sexual injection? Someone on this just asked that question.
It's just what you might exactly think.
Okay,
For
all right.
men, for men, I'm injecting the penis with like 2 little tiny needles. Oh, by the way, you're asleep.
You're totally out.
You're asleep, by the way.
Okay, thank God.
During all of this, so it's not actually a big deal.
I had a pucker moment. Oh my goodness, I was like, okay.
And then for women, we do the vagina and the clitoris, and we're basically trying to increase blood flow, sensation, improve the ability to have erections or to have pleasure, and
especially as people age, they have more trouble with the tissue being healthy.
It's interesting because of the nature of the sexual conversation. People aren't asking questions.
They're afraid to. It's an uncomfortable conversation.
Because they feel like they're going to be judged, or they feel like they're going to be judged. And so if people have judgment around something, their knowledge is going to go down. And so then they just kind of stay naive forever. So I think that's really needed and necessary. I always go through the lens when I'm coaching people is this needed and necessary? And I mean, this might be one of the most important things that we're up to. So, wow, that's really cool.
I do a lot of speaking about sexual health because I do think it's something that, even doctors don't talk about.
They do not.
Like even there's big studies, even, the OBGYNs, for instance, they only ask maybe 40% of their patients, their female patients, about their sex lives. Yep. Unless they ask less, are you enjoying it? Is it pleasurable? And these are actually things that are really important. So there's a lot of things that you can do outside of stem cells. And so I talk a lot about that and this sort of idea that we should have an adult sex ed this, it's not just what you learn in 5th grade or high school. It's not about just preventing infections and pregnancies. It's about how do we keep this entire system healthy? It's a whole system, right?
Yeah.
Keep it healthy, because we know that 40% of men over 40 have some kind of erectile dysfunction, and about 40% of women at any age complain of sexual dysfunction.
And it's not just the physical parts, and I think we don't have the conversation about all of it. It's head, heart, and physical parts. So you have the operational pieces, but then you also have to be thinking about it and having the right conversations to be connected with your partner, or if you're doing self-pleasure or whatever. And then being, from the heart place, connected to kind of whatever you're experiencing. And so I think it's the physical pieces age over time, so you're able to combat that. But I think we don't talk about it enough in medical environments, where we ask the questions and then are thoughtful about the answers and make it a safe place for people to ask those questions.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I get really excited about in this moment, we've really and anyone who's been following the TFP journey, we've made health such a priority now. We really want to add decades on the end of people's lives, because what we realized is, I'm doing all of these seminars and I'm speaking and we're getting into motivation and we're doing mindset and we're doing all these things. And so we solve a lot of problems, so people will get kind of like what you were talking about in the ER, where they're sitting there and they're strung out and they're overworked and they're overtired, and all these things happen because that happens. And so they start figuring out the wealth component, but they're taking years off their life. And we're meant to love the life that we're able to live. And so one of the things we've been talking about in our company, TFP Life, is the idea of vitality and longevity. And Eileen got super excited about this Hotbox thing, human optimization project. She comes, and I got one in my basket, and I was like, that's a lot of stuff. I got confused. I'm a boy. So I'm just like, and I basically, I'm just going to take this to Eileen and be like, should I put it in my body? Like, just help me understand what's happening. But the thing is after hearing the who and the why behind it, and then watching Eileen's face light up and get excited about not just what's in the pill, but the size of the pills and how, all the thought that went into
colors
this.
are their natural dyes.
And yes, there's a purple one. You don't have to do a red pill or a blue pill, because everyone knows they want the purple pill. It's just so exciting, because they're making longevity a priority.
And making it easier.
Well, and you don't want to sit here and be at the end when you need longevity and go, oh crap, now I've compressed so much time, the longevity that I'm able to add is a couple years. Where if people start as soon as possible and stay consistent, we're talking about adding decades to people's lives. So that matters for me. Everything, the perspective shifts when you have a kid. I literally, I have a 16-month-old, and I look at him, I just literally want to spend as much time with you as possible. I want to see grandbabies. Hopefully I can get to great grandbabies. I want to just stay around as long as possible. So talk to us a little bit about the Human Optimization Project.
Yeah, so we started this about 2 years ago. This is our first product launch, and it's a twice daily supplement pack where you get essentially 19 ingredients that we curated specifically that are being studied and have good research behind them in the longevity space. So I like to think of it as, you have disease, where people are diseased and unhealthy and not doing well. And unfortunately about 85% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy. So that is a big group of people. But then above that, you have people who are free of disease, which is great. That's great. But then above that, there's this other level. And that's what we're talking about here, this sort of optimization level. And so we're trying to move people up that, from the bottom all the way up, because there's actually a lot of really cool research in longevity now that there are ingredients that can reverse some of the hallmarks of aging, some of the things that are happening in our bodies that are creating aging faster. And so we chose ingredients specifically to try to do that.
Wow, that's so cool. I think if we have the opportunity and to break down some of these habits, me going through my own health journey, I know it seems like every time I discover something like this, I immediately call Eileen. And she always gives me the same answer. Well, it depends. Because I remember I watched the Game Changers thing on Netflix, which is basically like an ode to veganism. And I'm like, should I be vegan? Should I stop eating meat? And she goes, well, it depends. She's like, I've seen people do that, and then it destroys their body, and I've seen people do it. So we're this science project, basically, and you have to keep your heart and mind open. But in health, it's almost always the situation to where we're trying to get just the physical appearance, and we're forgetting about the longevity portion. It's all like SARMs are a big thing right now, which are not super tested, and some of them are even more liver toxic than steroids. And you have all of these things happening for the immediate results. And it's really interesting to have someone really care about the future, but it's the hardest thing for us humans to do, because we all know if we invest with compounding interest, we can all be millionaires with like a few $1,000s, but no one does it.
Right.
It's so interesting. And one of the things that Eileen talks to me about all the time is the difference between curative medicine versus preventative medicine. And
This is definitely prevention.
yes,
Yeah,
this is prevention.
And I love what you said about us being projects, humans being projects, because we chose the name Optimization Project for that reason, because what we do with this is we'll, as needed as the research changes, we'll change the formulation of what's in the box. Because obviously we're learning more
All
every
the
day.
time.
And so we created this so that you can always know that you're taking sort of the latest and greatest, because it is a
cutting edge
project. Like
stuff.
all of it,
Yeah.
we're projects. Aging is a project. Being healthy is a project. Like it's all, we're just doing our best.
Yes.
And so like how do we further that journey about just to get to the best results?
Well, and I think one of the things that's so awesome about this is that I've done a lot of the supplements, and we talked about this yesterday when we met, but when you open 20 bottles of supplements and you're, I'm going to put them in for my week. And with this.
And you do it for 1 week and then you're like, I'm tired of that.
No, I'm pretty committed. But yes, some people would. But then to be able to have all of the things, like spermidine is one of the things that's in here, and it helps with aging and the telomeres.
Autophagy.
Yeah. And if you buy it individually, it's $99. For this, right now it's $149, but there may be a subscription rate of $139, and then it'll be $159, whatever. But it has 19 products in it. And so if you were to get the vitamin D with the K2 and the K7, and then you were to get the spermidine, and then you were to get each of the extra things, the magnesium,
way more expensive.
it's going to be like, didn't you say it was like $500?
It's $500 or $600. Yeah.
And instead, you have it in a little packet with cool colored pills that are all
including purple,
natural.
Including purple.
And so you don't have to go through the process of opening all the bottles every week. You just take out the packets. There's 2 packets a day. Each packet has 5 pills, right?
Yep.
And they're very small size. There's another supplement company where the pills kind of get stuck in your throat. They're very large pills.
That company's called Viome.
I'm gonna have you guys
They're
do all
still
my
very
marketing
good.
for me from now on. Can I just hire you to like hang out with me and like be in my pocket and just like
And
announce
the
yourself?
colors are super fun on the packets. And they have really fun little sayings on them. And so, like, I think you guys did a brilliant job with your marketing.
Thank
Like,
you.
the colors are
Thank
really
you.
beautiful. The ease of the products, the ease of the pills, like, and to sort of simplify what can be very complex for people, and to have experts in the field to really say, okay, these are the right things for right now, but the fact that it will be an evolutionary process.
Yeah.
As more things come out, you're like, okay, well, we're going to include that. We might take something else out, or we might just add another pill or whatever.
Right.
And then I think you said on the horizon, you have specific boxes that might come out, and you haven't decided all of them,
Yeah,
but you've
we'll
been
have
brainstorming about like women's health or men's health.
Yeah.
or
We're
other
trying to
things.
get them to do a TFP edition where it's just all purple pills.
Well, we hadn't talked about that yet, but they did talk about the potential for co-branding.
Yeah. And the other thing that we're doing, because we understand that it's not all about pills, obviously. Like if you're actually going to be healthy, and there's actually some real steps that we know from like the blue zone data, the people places in the world that have more people over 100 years old, that there are other things that you have to do. And so we have this whole program. It's called the BEAMS program.
BEAMS program.
BEAMS. So there's 4 S's.
And that's part of the
And
Hot
that
Box
is
project?
kind of, it's sort of a side branch. It's an educational platform, and we're just starting a challenge on that actually.
Is it going to be an app?
It's gonna be a workbook challenge, like an ebook
cool.
and workbook. And so I'll just go through real quick what that means. But B is for belong, so belong to communities, groups. E is for eat, so obviously what you're eating. A is avoid, so the things to avoid: toxic people, toxic things in the environment, all
Alcohol,
the things
drugs,
to avoid,
et
et
cetera,
cetera. Endocrine disruptors. There's a whole bunch of things. M is for move, and that's kind of going into what types of movements and how much and all of that, which is really important. S is for sleep. Obviously important, in learning how do you sleep well and what do you avoid and why.
I noticed we all have Aura rings on.
The next S, yeah, exactly. The next S is for stress, because that's obviously a
Reducing
huge
it.
driver
Yep.
for disease of all kinds. And then sun is our third S, which a lot of people don't actually realize how important getting some sun exposure is, but not too much. Like there's like this Goldilocks zone there. Yeah. And then the last S is for sex, because that's a lot of what I do. So it's basically all of these things together, and how do we, kind of step by step bring these things into our lives. So that's Beam's
Super
Beam's
cool
program.
Well, we're willing to be guinea pigs on your workbook project.
Yeah, we are definitely, we are the best guinea pigs you're going to have. We love, just, again, our mantra is kind of doing cool things with cool people. And it's really fun watching people actually care about stuff. And I think that's one of the things, and everyone knows I'm a little bit like George. By the way, we're at a George Bryan event. And George, I know you listen to my podcast. I love you. I love you more. You're awesome. And thank you so much for inviting me here. It's been fantastic. But it's just really important for us to do cool things with cool people and seeing the why behind the brand. So many people who build a box, it's only the number. Like, you are $1 to them, but listening to people talk about, I want to change the formula and I always want to make it the latest and greatest. I really care. Inventing things and structures like the Beams program, like that's really, really cool. And so 2 things. Number 1, you just need this, so I think you should get it.
We'll put a link for the website too.
No, and number 2, go on their Instagram. I went on the Instagram of the Hop Box last night, and I felt the pain, like the thing where there's like all these pills. You could ask them at our Airbnb if that's me right now. Like absolutely. Like, and it's like this much stuff.
Oh yeah, where I'm like abracadabra.
And then you go like this, and it's just this little box. If this is all I had to take and just count the days that I was going to be gone, since I'm on the road so long, I would literally get rid of like 2 duffel bags of crap. Like literally, my team behind the cameras are both shaking their head yes. So I'm telling you, one of the big things that I think people are looking for in today's market is easy. They're looking for easy. How do I, like, they don't actually care about, the why as much as they should. Really, people are just looking for easy. So when you do the Walmart thing or you do this and you think that it's easy, it's not actually serving you best. Now, this is easy. It's done the right way with the right people. And I don't want to sound like an infomercial, but here's the thing.
I'll be the infomercial, because that's how I felt after I read the ingredients.
But that's how I feel too. Because
I love you guys.
But it's cool people doing cool things. And, now that I understand the why and the who, having Dr. Amy, like, she's number 1 a real person. Like, not like you watch people from the outside looking in and you're just like, oh man, they're an influencer, they're this. Like, she was the first person like, can I join you guys for dinner? I want to hang out. Who are you guys? And that's the kind of people you want to hang out with. And then the passion and the compassion behind the product is really all I need to know. And then you take it and you couple it with the fact that it's easy. The relationship was easy. The hanging out was easy. Dinner was easy.
Well, and if people have more questions or are more curious, you can get onto the website and look at the details about what's included. You can always reach out to me for questions. We can figure out how to reach out to Amy if you have questions. But there's a ton of great stuff that's in it. It's super exciting.
All right, so I have one last question for each of you, because it is Women's History Month. What is the single biggest thing that you could tell another female entrepreneur that could help them in today's market? Because I think I'll be the first person to admit, I surround myself with as many strong women as I can, and it's made me way better at business. When I finally fired myself as CEO and my wife took over our colleges got better. So I'm telling you, like, if you're a woman entrepreneur out there, take the step, because you are so much more needed and necessary than you probably realize. But 2 people who I absolutely respect and are incredible entrepreneurs, take their words of wisdom here, so that you can, maybe hang this on a sticky note on your mirror when you are brushing your teeth. Maybe it's by your bed. But take something from these guys, because I'm telling you, they are people who really need to be respected, not just as female entrepreneurs, just entrepreneurs. Like, and honestly, if you're a dude out there, but you probably need to write this down too. Maybe extra for the dudes. Let's just be honest. So what's one thing that you can, empower women to take that next step, to maybe give them some courage? What really helped you?
I think the idea that if you don't take that step off of the cliff, that sort of cliff into the unknown, that then you're never going to learn to fly. Like, you have to step out of your comfort zone, and you have to be scared, and you have to look down and not really know what the hell's going to happen. But that's the moment that you actually get your wings.
Yeah. Ooh.
I think I agree with that. I would say also trusting your intuition about what you want to work on or what feels important. Because sometimes people have that doubt voice going on in their head a lot. And that coupled with taking your power back. So knowing that you can do it, that you're strong enough to do it, that you can get the right team, you can get the right support and help. A lot of women, I think, are afraid in general to move forward, similar kind of thing, but they've been used to being told what to do or letting someone else take the reins, and so take the reins back.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, and I think, it's really important to just take that lens of needed and necessary, and maybe even write that on your mirror. Say, I am needed and necessary. Your voice freaking matters. And everyone has had this moment where it's like, oh, I wish I would have said something, or I wish I would have said that, or I had that idea 6 months ago. So use your voice, use your movement, use the movement in the beams technique. Definitely, Kayla, I miss you. We're going to have a lot of the last S when I get back. I want to point that out.
Get that fourth S on your schedule.
Yeah, it's happening. So, but
Awesome.
But again, get around people where you can laugh and collaborate with and love on and have ideas that turn into action. But I'm telling you, you are needed and necessary. And that collaborative approach between the female and the male component, it's not just one. And we're kind of getting this thing, and I'll probably get canceled for even saying the word, but in the woke culture, I'm watching these divergent paths where it's like, oh, I'm all women, or I'm all men, or I'm scared to even work with each other. The genius is in the end. I always ask people, would you rather breathe in or out? Well, you're going to die if you pick either one. You want to breathe in and out. You need men and women. And I'm just saying right now, let's actually band together, do some cool things with cool people, cool things, and collaborate, because that's what it's all about. So anyway,
that's how you create the exponential experience.
The exponential experience of life. Because literally, I'm just saying, if you don't think women matter, not even Jesus could come into this world without one. They matter. So, so anyway, thank you, Dr. Eileen, Dr. Amy.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you guys so much. And this has been the Final Percent Podcast.
It's the final percent. The final percent.